Uh, on paper where the story's told, facts and truth, the legend grows. Lion hearts here with fire to spit. It's on paper with Anthony Smith.
With Anthony Smith.
Welcome back to On Paper. I'm Kelly Murphy. More importantly, that is UFC light heavyweight and the ultimate girl dad himself, Anthony Lionheart Smith. Anthony, is it as absolutely freezing in Nebraska as it is in New York?
Yeah, it's so cold here. Yeah, it's really cool. My kids are actually out of school today. School got canceled. Well, it snowed a bunch the last 2 days, but it's negative 23 here. So we have a cold day, and it doesn't sound like they're going back to school tomorrow either. So, yeah,
How do you function in that kind of weather? Who lives somewhere that it's negative 23 degrees?
Yeah, we just kind of hang out. My kids, two of my kids had sleepovers last night. Like once school's canceled, all the friends are on the phones and trying to figure out what they're going to do. So my two older kids had friends stay the night. So my wife is whipping through breakfast right now for all these hungry kids that are bored and trying to entertain them. And yeah, so it's crazy around here.
I don't know how you do it because our house won't even get above 65 right now because of how cold it is outside.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like not safe. Like it's so cold. Like if you get stuck outside for like 10 minutes, like you're gonna freeze to death. It's freezing. It's been nice to like just hang out for the morning though. I actually didn't wake up that long ago, and I know for those of you that are watching, have no idea what time it is. It's 10 a.m. Where I live right now. So we had a really long weekend, like a long weekend. The kids were out of school on Monday anyways. So we were in Kansas City. My oldest played in a huge invite-only volleyball tournament. It's the best club volleyball teams in the entire nation.
Oh, wow.
And then one of those days, her wave didn't start until 3 o'clock. So Sunday, she didn't play until 3. So me and little Adley dipped out to Belton, Missouri, and she wrestled in a tournament in Belton, Missouri, which was a lot of fun. And she wrestled her little heart out. She took a really tough loss in her, like a heartbreaker in her first match, and she wrestled all the way through the backside of the bracket to take third place. I was super proud of her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she almost had me crying. It was wild.
Really?
Yeah. So this girl she had in the consolation finals, like for third and fourth, was really, really tough. And she was like a big throwing girl, like lots of headlocks and a lot of body locks and tie ups. And like, I don't know, maybe I'm getting too deep in the weeds here. I don't know if anyone even cares, but so I help coach her club program. And like, you never teach little kids headlocks. It's just not like a thing. Because if you do, then that's all they're going to want to do. And it's kind of like it works if you're good at it for a while. But it's one of those things like you don't want your kid to rely on such a cheap kind of bullshit move.
Sure.
So I've never even taught it to her. I've never taught a headlock to any of the kids at the program. So you got to kind of teach them the defense and the counters and all that stuff. But we haven't even really got to that too much because most kids don't headlock people. But this girl did it to like every single person she wrestled. So I was like super nervous, like, God damn it. We've never even gone over this before. Right. So I like pull her in a hallway and like we spend 5 minutes before she walks out there, like kind of going through the crash course in headlock defense. She's 7 years old. So like you can see in her face, she's like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. So I'm like, okay, just if she does this, do this. And that was kind of how we had to leave it. And like, sure as shit, they shake hands and whistle blows. And this girl wraps Adley up in a hot second. And like, she totally did exactly what I asked her to do. She ends up getting her own takedown off of it, turns the girl to her back. And for people that wrestle, when you're in a pinning sequence, a lot of times you want them to look up at the ceiling. And she was trying to pin her and she was kind of struggling. So I, Adley, look up at the ceiling. And she like looks up, and right after she does that, she gets the pin. And then she jumps up. Me and her, like total idiots, like we celebrate like she just, won an NCAA national title. And we're walking off, and she always jumps in my arms, and I'm carrying her. And she got
Oh.
like her head on my shoulder, and she goes, "Daddy, how come I had to look up?" And that like hit me. She just blindly trusts me. Like she's doing things and doesn't exactly always know why.
But is that surprising to you?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Like, especially in wrestling where it's such an individual sport and the consequences are so high and it's just you out there. So it's really scary. Like it's especially for little kids, it's really, really scary to be out. There's no one to blame. There's no one to lean on if you're uncomfortable or you're nervous. It's just you. So it is hard to trust people and so you second guess it a little bit or you hesitate before you do it and then the moment passes. But yeah, she just blindly trusts that what I'm saying is going to help her get out of whatever she's in. And then I have to explain to her, like, when you look up, it brings your chest down, which makes you heavier. And she goes, "Oh, okay." We just moved on. I don't know. It was crazy. And then my oldest played really, really well. Anyways, no one wants to hear about my family, but my oldest rocked it out. Her team played absolutely amazing. They kind of didn't show up Sunday morning and got eliminated from the tournament, but or not Sunday, Monday. But you know, it wasn't a qualifier, so it was just
Sure.
kind of get out there and play with the best teams in the nation. And they went 5-2. And then my second oldest played in a tournament, went 3-0 in her last basketball tournament. And then we count my oldest best friend Reagan. So like over the weekend, everyone went 14-4. And but we count Reagan's in there too because she had a wrestling tournament and did pretty well. So
Big weekend for the Smith family,
yeah,
as usual.
and not a lot of
You guys
sleep.
got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, you were in headlines for a couple of different reasons. Let's start with the more
Was I?
important one. You were, as
Yeah, I
usual.
don't know that I don't even think I answered you all weekend. I don't think I
You
talked
didn't.
to my manager. I didn't. I was just in straight up dad mode all week or all weekend, like from Friday to Monday.
Yep, you were. I think I had 8 unanswered
It's
over the course of 3 days, but we got here.
it's fine. We're here.
We got here. Your fight news is out. I would have loved if you were able
I
to
did hear
announce it
about
on
that
the
at the
show.
volleyball tournament. They were like, "Good luck in April," and I was like, "How does he know?"
News is out. You're
Yeah.
taking on Zhang Mingyang at UFC Kansas City, April 26th. So let's just start with overall reactions. When you heard about the fight, how we got here, all of that kind of stuff.
So the UFC reached out and wanted to kind of. They gave me a little while. They gave me Hunter probably called me. Oh, I'd say I don't know, first week in January, maybe right before the Anaheim card. Actually, called me right before the Anaheim card. Maybe like that Wednesday. Excuse me. Hunter called and just wanted to have a conversation about what I wanted to do with my career, what my plans were, and he had told me right after my fight, like, I'm going to give you some time and sit down and think, and let's figure out what we're going to do. And so that's what I did, and I relayed kind of what I wanted to him, and that was to have one more on my own terms. And I didn't really care against who. I wanted it to be something that was fun, and I was going to leave that up to him as far as the who. And my only real contingency there was that I wanted it to be someone who was exciting and that was gonna bring the fight to me and was gonna engage with my bullshit. And he said okay. So the next day they came with say his name again.
Zhang Mingyang.
Yeah, that guy. They came with him. And I'd never heard of him. I didn't know who he was. And I just kind of let it sit because I know I was going to Anaheim and they would be there. So I let it sit and then, kind of pass it on to my coaches and stuff and told them what, check them out, see what you think. I don't know why I do that because I take every fight anyways. So it's like,
That's a good
I
point.
pass this name on to like, hey, tell me about this guy. What do you think? Like, I'm taking it anyways. So it's not like where you need to make a decision. But
Right.
so then I went down during the fights and talked to Mick Maynard. And I just wanted to know why. Like, why this guy? Why, like, I've never heard of him. I don't think he has a win over anybody that has a win in the UFC. Like, why is this one the last one? And he gave his explanation, and I enjoyed it. It was a really thoughtful response. It was, I don't know, showed me that they actually did put some time and effort into considering the opponent. And I was good with it. Like, yeah, that works. I'm cool. And then initially they wanted it to be, I think, in Miami. I think they wanted it on the Miami card.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said I wanted it closer. So Hunter called and said, I can get you as close as Kansas City. How's that work? I was like, yeah, it's like 2 hours. I can do that. So it just gives everyone an opportunity that wants to go. Going to UFC events can get expensive. Tickets and hotels and, flights, and it can just get expensive. And you don't want to ask people to, commit this huge investment when not everyone has it. So it's close enough everyone can drive. Kansas City hotels are, fairly reasonably priced. And it's a fight night, so the ticket prices aren't going to be absolutely crazy. So, I was happy with it all.
Okay, I have a lot of follow-up questions for you. I do want to start with the opponent because you said you asked Hunter why Zhang. He had a really thoughtful response, and
Well, ask McMaynard.
Okay, you asked McMaynard.
Yeah, ask McMaynard.
So this guy's 18-6, 11 fight win streak. All 18 of his wins are by first round finish. And it feels like there's been a couple of different times in your career they've tried to have guys make names off of you. You've been a top 10 guy at 205 for a very long time. And it just feels oddly reminiscent of that Vitor Petrino matchup where you two got matched up. He's an up-and-comer. He seems like an absolute killer. They wanted him to make a name off somebody like you, who's been you've been in the division in the top 10 for a very long time. This kind of feels like the same thing. Do you have that same vibe?
Sorta. So I look at it differently though. Even the Petrino one, like, he was killing people and people weren't really hanging with him at all. He wasn't in any real competitive fights. So what I think when we say, they want him to build a name off of you, I don't think that they actually care. I don't think that they care what he makes a name off of or whatever. What they're going to do is they're going to put them in positions, if they're in super uncompetitive fights where no one is pushing them to that next level or forcing them to get outside of themselves to get into wins, then they have that next tier of guys that they want to see how they're going to do. It's this progression through their career. A lot of the guys in that next progression aren't willing to take fights with those young up-and-comers with undefeated records or whatever. I always have been. I'll always give those guys an opportunity. I'll always fight those guys. So I think I'm the one that's willing to give those guys, I'll open the door for them to come in. Now, whether they stay is up to them. Whether they're turned away once they get to the door, that's up to them. They have to make it work or not make it happen. So I think Zhang is one of those guys where he's not been in super competitive fights in the UFC. He's every win. I don't think he's been out of the first round. And now they need to find out how good he really is. He's probably not gonna have some super conservative or some extremely conservative fight style. He's gonna bring the fight to me. He's gonna swing for the fences. He doesn't give a shit who I am. He's not gonna be concerned with my name and accolades. And he is a guy that's going to be hard to match up with anyone that's in his kind of tier and where he's at, and then people above him because he's unknown. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not that the higher ranked guys are afraid of him or worried about him. So there's not enough tape of him at a high level fighting UFC caliber guys. So he's hard to game plan for because it's easy to look at him on the regional scene and fighting people that aren't on his level and say, well, he's good here. He's got this hole, but you don't actually know until he's in a fight with someone who is at his same level. You don't actually know how good he is. So I'm the guy that's willing to fight him with a lot of unknowns.
I agree with everything you said other than one little point in that they don't care. I do think they care because this is a guy, and I'm not saying he beats you, he gets a title shot. We're not in a Khalil Roundtree situation by any means with this guy. But they know that it's going to be your last fight, at least your last fight with them. That's another question I want to get to with you a little bit later. I don't think they want you to go, not that they don't like you. I know you're a company guy, you do broadcast work with ESPN and thus for UFC. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think they want somebody like you who they know it's going to be your last fight to go in there and starch this guy who's got 18 first round finishes and could potentially work his way up. Kind of a dull 205 division other than the champ, Alex Pereira.
I don't know that they think that deep. I really don't.
You don't think so?
No, I have a lot of conversations with these guys, and if they did, they're probably not going to tell me. We're just being honest,
Of course.
but I don't. Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby have always told me that they
Mhm.
don't care who wins. They want good fights. They want
For sure.
interesting matchups, and they put people in positions, and it's up to you to do what you do with it. And of course, we can think of people that were favorably matched and put in some better positions than others. But I don't, I've known Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby and those guys a really long time, and they've always been pretty straight up with me, even at
Mhm.
times that I don't like it.
Of
They've
course.
always been very honest and very clear. And his explanation was really that he's exciting and that we don't know where he is in terms of his skill set, and he's hyper aggressive and he's hard to match up. And they know that I want a fight that's going to be really exciting, not some boring scrape one out to finish my career, that it's
Right.
probably going to be a highlight one way or the other. And that gives them an opportunity to let me have a fun fight and figure out where he's at.
Was there anybody you were hoping it was going to be, or did you throw any names into the hat for the guys over at the UFC? Because when I think Anthony Smith retirement fight, I don't necessarily think Zhang Mingyang.
No, I
With
didn't
all,
have
with
any.
all due.
Yeah, I didn't have any didn't have any suggestions,
Okay.
but I was very shocked with the matchup for sure. And that wasn't a bad thing. It was just I was not expecting that one. But once I kind of looked into them a little bit and sat on it, makes a lot of sense why they would go that direction.
So, how important was having this retirement fight to you? It's obviously no secret how you've been since the loss of your best friend and coach Scotty. And you said after your last fight with Dominic Reyes, you weren't sure how much longer you were going to do this. A lot of people speculated that that may be your last fight, just given how it all went in there and how you were on the walk and your post fight reaction. But as a friend of yours and a fan, that never felt like it would have been right for that to be your last fight. It just felt like you needed one more proper headspace, proper training camp where you could really just focus and know that it was going to be your last one.
Yeah, that's really what it was about. I wasn't super proud of not even really the performance. I wasn't super proud of the situation that I was in during that kind of whole fight week, and I didn't get to conduct myself as if it was the last matchup or as if it was the last fight. So I didn't get to enjoy, obviously I didn't enjoy training camp at all, but I didn't get to enjoy training camp knowing that like this is my first last week of camp.
Mhm.
And then you get into fight week, like this is the last fight camp or fight week and the last weight cut. And I didn't get an opportunity, and not that I'm not going to see these people again because I do work for the UFC and do a lot of the broadcast stuff,
Of course.
but I didn't get to tell everyone that helps all of us do our jobs, how appreciative I was of what they do. And that's every single person on the UFC staff. That's even down to the people that pick you up from the airport and the PI staff that does your meals, that you kind of just come in, grab them and leave, and you never, I don't know that they get to hear how appreciative people are all the time because it's just such a rat race. But I want to walk through that fight week and weight cut and when you show up to the arena and just know not only is this the last time I have to do this, which there is a little bit of excitement about that, where I get to go on and have I got a whole life ahead of me. Hopefully, you know what I mean?
I mean, you've been doing
Hopefully.
this for professionally 17 years.
Yeah. So
It's going to be your 60th professional fight.
I got a whole lifetime ahead of me to do something else, which is exciting, scary, but
Mhm.
also exciting. But I still get to do this. Like I'm still in a position where am competitive and can do something that a small percentage of the population ever will have the ability to do. And that's exciting too. So I kind of want to celebrate it a little bit and just enjoy it and give everyone that, everyone always wants to come watch me fight. And then, I've had a bunch of short notice opportunities and, so then no one gets to go. And
Right.
just it's close and people can, not that it's about them, but it's a positive where I can have every single person that wants to be there because this is it's the last one. This is your last chance. So all the times where like I want to go, and then they don't, this is their last chance.
It's fair enough. Have you started training yet?
I'm easing my way in for sure.
And what's the mentality like knowing, like you talk about nerves, excitement, kind of it being a scary situation, given that this has been a huge chunk of your life for so long. What's the mentality like knowing, as you ease it and I'm a couple weeks out from the camp part of it for the last time?
I really haven't thought about that part of it too much. It's just I'm fat. So fat. So I'm like trying to
Right now, you're like, when do I have to make the switch from Moscow Mules to Michelob Ultras?
Right. Excuse me. Yeah, I just so I got to get my weight down and get into shape to start training camp. So that's really what I'm focused on. I haven't really gotten too deep into like the fight can't feel mentality.
Is April 25th the last time you'll ever weigh 205 pounds again, or 206?
April 26th?
April 25th.
I think it's the 6th. 26th.
No, well, aren't you weighing in on the 25th?
Oh, duh. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I guess I'll weigh in on the 25th, huh? Yeah.
I suppose.
What was the question?
Is that the last time in your life you'll weigh 206?
Probably. Probably. I can't imagine why I would weigh 206 for any other reason.
That is absolutely fair enough. I do have one more for you, and it's weird being the interviewer, but once once the fight got announced, I was like, okay, I have so many questions. I just typed out a bunch of shit.
Which is really funny that I never told you.
For all of you guys listening,
Yeah,
this
I
isn't
kept
some
it
big
secret, yeah.
facade we've put on. He wouldn't tell me who it was. So
I wouldn't even tell you where.
No. I
Yeah.
just knew it was in April against another man that will weigh 205 pounds on April 25th. That's all
Right.
I knew.
Yeah.
So the second I found out, I texted him, obviously got no response. And then,
No, I don't say obviously.
well, given the weekend you had with sports with the kids, I kind of knew nothing was going to be answered. You had a big weekend. Fighter retirements, tale as old as time. They're fake. They don't last. And I would say 90% of fighters that retire come back. Do you think this will actually be the last time you compete? Or are you looking to do like BK?
You asking if I'm going to do the Chris Weidman where I'm going to
one-off?
retire and then sign with a new organization 4 days later?
No, that was insane. I think 4 days maybe
Chris.
a stretch too. Me too.
I love Chris, but I was like, are you serious? We were all kumbaya and crying about you, and now you just got a fight announcement. What are we doing? Will that be? Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, I would be open later on down the road to, some freak show matchup and, something that was fun. But I would never sign with another. I'd probably never sign. No, I'd never sign with another MMA organization. So
I'll say
I'm not
probably never keeps the door.
well,
closed.
I mean, I'm not getting into another long-term contract with a bunch of, because I'm not retiring because I can't be competitive. I mean, I'll still beat most of the guys in the world. So it's just time. It's time to be a dad and be a husband and focus on other things in life. And my kids' activities are really kicking up, and I want to be present for all of that stuff. So retiring now and then later on signing up, with another organization is
Doesn't make a
going
lot of sense.
backwards.
Right.
Yeah, if I'm gonna sign with if I'm gonna be with an organization and fight consistently and keep doing that, I'll just stay where I am. So
Do
the
you
answer
think
is no.
Do you think they'll let you do power slap once you retire from the UFC?
Maybe I never thought about that.
I know you've been wanting
I
to
might
do
check
that.
that bucket list off for sure.
Yeah, I think that's something to circle back on.
Plus, I don't have a whole shit ton of brain cells left, so it'd have to be a one-off.
And
Because I don't have
not that I
a bunch
agree
of
with what you
extra.
just said,
I don't have a
but
bunch of extra.
you also aren't overstaying your welcome in the UFC. Like, this is the right time. Like you said, it's not that you can't be competitive. You just know that now is the time. You've been a mainstay in the top 10 pretty much your whole career at 205. That's got to count for something. They got to let you do it once.
You would think so. And I'll just make them feel guilty. Like, I did all this, and I did everything you asked me to do, and now I just want something. I'll just throw the puppy dog eyes at Hunter.
Yeah, I'm sure
But
that'll
listen,
work.
I get this question a lot. Like, why are you retiring? Like, you could still fight, and there's money to be made, and of course that is all true. But my goal always was to do what I want to do, not what I have to do. When I started this, I had to fight. That's how I fed myself. That's how I kept a roof over my head. I don't have to anymore. So now I can do what I want to do. I want to fight one more time. I don't have to. I want to. And then there's other things I want to do. And I can't do all of those things that I want to do while still fighting.
Well, yeah, when you're taking 6 to 8 week chunks multiple times a year out of your life to be in another state to train.
I thought about this over the weekend when I was sitting, the girls all had a curfew because they had an early report time for their game. And the parents are hanging out downstairs and everyone's sitting around talking. It was such a fun time. It was so much fun. And it's just a lot of really good people and good conversations and a lot of business owners and everything about it was fun. And I thought I wouldn't be able to continue to enjoy this as this is picking up if my fight career stays on the schedule that it's on. All of that's a lot of missed opportunities. The experience I had watching my oldest kind of figure out a lot of things real time at a high level versus the best teams in the nation, like that moment was really important, and I'm glad that I got to see it. But if I'm in fight camp or I'm traveling all over the place, and that was an opportunity I would have missed. And then the moment I had with Adley, where she's blindly trusting me and figuring out this wrestling thing and starting to turn the corner. I don't get those. I will miss those if I continue to do this. So it's just not worth it. It's not worth it anymore.
It's fair enough.
It used to be when we were coming up and I had to solidify myself in the UFC, and I had to keep a roof over our head with my fighting career alone. The sacrifice it was just something I had to make, something I had to do. But I don't have to do it anymore, so I'm not going to. It's time to check in and be a dad.
All right. And now we bring in the newly ranked number 12 UFC Featherweight, Youseff Zalal. Youseff, how are you doing after the weekend?
Not bad. I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. I'm happy, and I'm just blessed and grateful to wake up another day.
How do you feel to have a number next to your name now?
Bro, that's the definitely the thing you were like, oh my God, I can't wait to get it. It's definitely satisfying a little bit, but I just try to enjoy it as much as I can. I feel like sometimes I forget about that. Coach kind of reminded me one time. He's like, Youssef, I know you go super hard on yourself and super high standards and all this, but he's like, I remember I was sitting in Oklahoma with Joe Warren and we won the belt, and then all we said was is this it? And so I just try to live the moment right now and really try to be present with it, you know what I mean? And I can see all the things I'm entering the whole trash talk, this is a whole
it's different, right?
to me. Yeah, this is not nothing the whole trash talk I had before was like, hey, well, I'm glad you left. You're so terrible, blah, blah, blah. And like when I got cut the first time in the UFC. So, but now it's like a whole different level. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, though. But I'm like definitely present with it, and I'm having fun with it a little bit. I think it's getting a side out of me that a lot of people love. So I don't know why, but they love it.
Well, it's getting a side out of you that all of us at Factory X
No.
have been seeing for a long time. For a long time. Youssef's just the type of person, he'll never let you win. He won't let you win an argument. He won't let you win like any kind of verbal dispute at all.
I'm better now. Come on. I'm better now.
You are not.
Yes,
You are
I am.
not. The second I walk into the gym, I can tell by the like the volume level in the gym, I can tell if Youssef's there or not. And which is fine. It's exciting, and it's an energy that I think people are going to come to love. I can see how it could be a bit off-putting if they're not used to your personality.
Yeah.
Because I never take Youssef serious. He'll say the most disrespectful shit in the world.
No,
but it's always with love.
Chill,
with love, and it's a joke.
Chill.
And I know that we've had conversations about that number kind of being that next box that you want to check, that bucket list thing. And like you said, I think it's validation, and I was happy to see you get that. What did you feel? I felt like the fight went different than you expected it to.
Yeah, man. So there's a couple things, and like I'm not the guy that make excuses at all. None of that stuff. You know what I mean? I never in my life made a single excuse about a fight. That's just not how it is. Even the fights that I won or lost, whatever. You know, and I feel like the first 2 rounds I did smooth, right? And then the one thing that pissed me off is that boy was greased up from top.
You really think so?
I know so. There's no way. Go watch anybody that knows MMA. Go watch that third takedown. Go watch how deep the takedowns are in the first round. My man was so terrified of the takedown that I literally just fainted down and he just completely ducked. That's why I'm like, okay, I don't know if you
maybe he was just sweaty,
brother. I win a lot of decisions before I came back. A lot of decisions. And Black Shear, Damon, we fought in San Diego, which is humid. And that was like super humid. Even the commentator was, I think you were there. They were saying how humid he was. So for me, and I felt we're humid. And that's, that's a brother as well. So, that boy was sweating. So I know, I know when I see things and I know I felt this. And to be honest, bro, like, why would I even bring it up when I won? You know what I mean? It's like there's no
right.
point.
If you didn't believe it,
exactly. There's no point for me to bring it up when I won. I'm like, bro, I can just be like, okay, well, you guys can talk your talk. I'm the one who won. I'm the one who's walking in. It's not. I wanted to finish him, and I guarantee you, bro. If we go to jiu-jitsu match, I'll finish him. I promise you that right now. If we get a jiu-jitsu match, whatever, anywhere outside, I guarantee you, I'll choke him out. Guarantee you. I put all my money on it right now. And then kind of like. It kind of discouraged me in a little bit. And I was like, I told the coach in the corner, and I was like, yo, I can't find the takedown. Like, the takedown is not there. Like, even in the clinch, bro, just slides. He just slides. Like,
I was actually really impressed with his takedown defense. And a lot of that's because I knew what your game plan was. Because I'd been in Denver, a few weeks ago. I seen you working. I seen what your what your sparring rounds look like. So I kind of knew the direction you guys were going. So I obviously I didn't know that there was a slippery problem going on there, but I was impressed with his takedown defense. But I think I was more impressed with I felt like after watching it, I wish you would have been not more confident, but you could have just trained the entire, like the fight went the way that it went. You won the striking exchanges on the feet while also having a game plan to pretty much wrestle the whole time.
And that's kind of
so like, what if you didn't plan on wrestling and just focused on winning the striking exchanges?
Well, that's kind of like
instead.
That's kind of thing. I don't know what it was. Obviously, we talked about it. Coach was like saying like, hey man, like you just showed like you're dangerous heavyweight. You don't like obviously be down on yourself. But I was like in my way, I'm like, obviously I'm like I came from a striking background. I'm a striker. That's like my thing. I think I fell in love with jiu-jitsu and kind of like really fell in love in grappling, especially the last few years. But it's mostly about like, okay, like trust the striking and stuff like that. Especially now at the highest level, like you get to the rankings, like you're gonna be fighting some guys. You're like, okay, like now it's grappling, like Aljamain, Mozov, and all those guys. Like you have to strike, you have to get everything going and stuff like that. And especially on that, I feel like in that third round, like I put that pressure of. That's what, like when I came in, it's like almost like a movie. I walked into it like an experience cage, and I was like, oh wow, like one, I was like kind of putting the name in that face, and I was like, holy smokes, like I'm Calvin. And I think that's like I gotta stop doing that, man. I gotta stop like giving too much how you say it, like that much respect to the fighter, you know what I mean? I was like a big fan, and I'm still a big fan, bro, of Calvin, you know what I mean? So all my interviews, I was like, my inner child is like freaking out, like losing its mind, you know what I mean? And I was like putting so much up there, and like I'm like, well, I'm that guy that's coming in, and I'm that guy that's changing that, you know what I mean? So
and that's why you ran the whole third round.
Huh?
That's why you ran from him the whole third round.
Listen, bro, I tell him, listen to me. If one, I loved how Firas, I made a coach that frustrated. That's a blessing to me. And I'm like, you're the
Was he frustrated?
Yeah.
Could you hear it?
Yeah, because the UFC posted the reel, and I ducked with that kick he threw. It was even in the body, and I still ducked it. And then I was like, bro, you're one of the greatest coaches in MMA history. Right? We agree with that?
Yeah.
You can't teach your fighter how to cut an angle. You can't teach your fighter how to throw a kick. You can't teach your fighter how to throw a body punch. At the apex, imagine you give me the bigger cage, by the way. This is just the apex. And then you'd be like, running, why don't you stop it? It's so easy. You're the number 10 in the world. You have one of the greatest coaches behind you. You can't stop it. I was like, hey, this is the part of the game. It was like, you want to go bang. You want to get 700 punches landed on you, 700 strikes landed on you. Be my guest. Go in those fights. Sure, they're going to make you legends. They're going to make you that and all this and this and that. No problem. Awesome. Go have fun with it. But you come find me, I'm like, I'll pick your ass apart. That's all I need to do.
I was annoyed for him because I was so because I know exactly how he felt. There's a lot of times
Hey, bro,
there's a lot of times that you and I will be in the gym, and Youssef will get talking shit, and I'm like, get your ass over here, and I'll just try to track him down, and like we obviously we have a huge weight difference, but Youssef's not afraid to get in there and spar with the big guys and move around, and we're not dropping hammers trying to knock anybody out, but we're moving around in there, and I can never catch Youssef ever.
Bro, that was my ego.
It's the most frustrating thing in the world. It's like, will you just stand still so I can punch you in the face? So I know exactly how he felt. I knew exactly how he felt.
Bro,
like, oh, he's so annoyed.
That's what I went in, and I was like one time I was like, okay, maybe I should stop banging and going at it. But I was like, well, there's too much like risk in a way. I'm like, he is really good at striking. He is really powerful. Like,
well, okay, why'd you switch the game plan in the third then? Because what was going on in the first two was working. So why change it?
So I think what like obviously his energy completely changed. His energy was from day and night difference from the first round.
Yeah, he got really aggressive in the third.
And I kind of later to find out, like, this is the advice that Firas is giving. It's go 300 strikes and then don't worry about your defense. And bro, I'm telling you to Firas right now, don't ever disrespect me ever again. Like, I don't care what kind of coach you are. Don't ever disrespect another fighter. Especially when you be posting videos of this is how you fight smart. This is how to hit and not get hit. This is how to do things. Don't come at me. Maybe you should teach your athletes how to move their head and how they should throw a kick, especially from the gym that you come from. And by the way, this is not the first time the Vaseline is out of that gym. I just want.
I mean, it's been accused before.
I just don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? But they want to test the light skin side out of me. I told
you guys. Listen, he'll say the most disrespectful shit in the world with a smile on his face.
I'm the most humble guy in that division. Swear to God, I work my ass off. I don't do nothing. I never talk smack in anywhere. The only smack I ever talk is in the gym. Us with my boys. That's it. I never go outside and disrespect the fighter, disrespect their family, disrespect their religion, nothing. But for you to disrespect me and your family, Kattar's family to disrespect me, Not cool, bro. And I'm like, you want to test the whole side out of me? Cool, because this side gets a lot more exciting. But I'm like, hey man, like I just want to recognize how shitty his coach is, and all this. Oh my God, it's Firas Zahabi's GSP. You a bum. You're literally a bum. You coach nothing but bums.
Jesus Christ. I love you.
Nah, bro, I swear to God, like I feel
I
like
love
nothing
you.
but respectful. And then he's trying to act like, oh, respectful in the back. I was like, bro, I was such a fan that I was like, hey, I want to take a picture with Kattar. And I walked out of the what do you call it? The medical. He was just
Yeah.
walking in, but he was having a meeting with Hunter and Dana. So I was like, all right, respectfully. So I'm sitting outside the Apex for 15 minutes. They're like, Youssef, can you do the media? I was like, no, I want to take a picture, please. So coach was like, hey, you want to just do media and then come back? I was like, yeah, cool. So coach walked up to Firas and told him, hey, Youssef would love to take a picture with him. They disappeared. They didn't give a fuck. They just bounced. And I said, all right, cool, man. Like,
Well, I mean, he just lost. I mean, you're probably not wanting to hang out with the guy that just beat you either.
yeah, but bro, you're at a point of your career that you know what's happening, and it's like you're
Yeah.
getting that to the point. But I'm like, yeah, man, I don't know. It gets me all worked up, and I'm like, but the third round, I feel like I put that name on his face, and I like kind of like forgot what the hell I'm doing.
Well, he's a G too, so he knows he was down 2 rounds, and he's going to put his foot on the gas and try to force it, and he has that inside of him, that kind of dog inside of him. So you got to give him credit for that. Whether it's you putting a name to the face and realizing who it is or not. At the end of the day, that's still Calvin fucking
Oh,
Kattar.
100%.
He's got that dog in him. He's going to bring it out if he needs to.
And that's what
And I was actually I thought you guys both fought a really, really magical fight, because I thought he did a much better job at kind of sticking to a game plan and trying to be fundamentally sound and not trying to dogfight the entire time. I thought that he actually showed some new wrinkles to his game. And a lot of that's because I know how good you are and how technical you can be, and how you pick people apart and you're frustrating. So for him to stick kind of inside of himself and try to work through it, I thought was really impressive. Obviously, I was impressed with your ability and your movement and your range and your accuracy the entire time. But I thought you guys both fought a really good fight. So it's unfortunate, that side of it had some bullshit. But if we're gonna roll this forward, now you've been hard to match up to this point, especially this last run you've been on. Now you have a target. You got a number next to your name. Now there's a lot of people that want that. Have you thought about who you want to fight next, or like what names sound interesting?
I didn't care, bro. I like I told you, like I dream big, I shoot big. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I told him, I was like, I heard Yair does not have a fight. He's looking for an opponent, and I know he's hard to fight.
It'd be a fun fight.
He's hard to match up. So I was like, I'll take it. I was like, I don't care. I was like, I'll take it and let's do it. And because I know a lot of guys are moving up to 55. I think like Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, Ilya. So that's like 3 rankings is gone right there. So you know what I mean? So that opens up opportunity for another guys, or who knows? Maybe I'll be the guy that.
Hold on, let me cut you off right here. I'm gonna interrupt you. It wasn't that long ago that you had I'll just be honest, a lackluster UFC run. You've always had the same skills and abilities. I think obviously you've leveled up. Excuse me. You've leveled up and really rounded out your game. I think with your wrestling and your grappling and your striking has become more purposeful, I think. But generally you had the same skill set, right? And you struggled in your first UFC run. Then you go outside of the UFC, dominate, obviously, work your way back, go on this amazing run, fight in the co-main event versus Calvin Kattar. And now those 3 names you just mentioned, Max Holloway moving up, Ilya Topuria moving up, this guy's moving out of the division, affecting your career. So it changes things for you. A year ago, you weren't even in the UFC.
I know, 11 months ago. It's not even fucking a year ago.
Yeah. 11 months ago, you weren't even in the UFC. And now you're mentioning guys like Yair Rodrigues, and you just got a win over Calvin Kattar, and things shaking up at the top of the division affects where you are. Did you a year ago, would you have ever thought that was a possibility? And be honest. Of course, we're all going to say, well, yeah, of
No,
course
no,
I knew I was going to make it.
I
But
definitely knew I was gonna be in the rankings, but I didn't know it was gonna take this fast. I didn't know it was gonna be this fast, and I didn't know it was gonna be the way that obviously I do it. I knew I was capable of finishing guys. I know I was capable. I think the biggest thing is the confidence in the cage. You know what I mean? I feel like the confidence before I was so afraid and not to do things. Like I'm not afraid to walk forward. I'm not afraid to throw down a little bit and all that stuff. But it's like it kind of in a way I'm like that's like to see it like, oh, like, well, we know we're going to be in the ranking. I don't know how long it was going to take. It's like when we're out of the UFC, we're like, hey, we know we're going to be back. We just don't know when. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing when it comes to that part, you know. And but now, like you said, the reality hits, and you're like, all right, now you're the hunter. You know what I mean? So you don't know who the UFC is going to give you. They can give you a guy that's not ranked, or they can give you guys that's upper in the rank. So it's all depends on how it goes.
where'd you find the confidence? Because you were on the regional scene before and did really, really well, and then got into the UFC. Then you struggle, and then somehow you find it outside of the UFC again. I like explain that.
Yeah, bro, it's my like I really had to find my reason why. I feel like I kind of like bullshitted around a little bit when it comes to that part. Like you start leaving the hype and start leaving the believing like all this stuff. You know what I mean? The money and all this stuff. Oh my gosh, I'm doing so good. I'm doing like this and that and this and all this stuff. And I just had to believe my why. You know, and who's my hero, you know, and it's my brother that passed away, and I want to make this opportunity the best opportunity of my life. You know what I mean? So if that means grinding every day, then that's what I'm gonna do, and I'll do it till the grave. You know what I mean? And I got too much. I got a lot of family, man, that I'm trying to change their life, and I'm trying to change my life, and I know to do that, like you have to really perform. You know what I mean? So I that's the pressure I have behind me, and that's the pressure I put in myself, and that's a strong pressure I feel like going into fights. And yeah, man, I would stick with my why, and that's what kind of like really got me really like thinking about life, like whole a lot. You know what I mean? I went from making this much to making like, okay, you fighting for $1,500 or $2,000, and then you went fighting in front of millions of people. Now you're fighting in front of 300 people, maybe max. You know what I mean? So, and now you're like, oh, you're the guy that be like, oh, he's a UFC vet. We're trying to knock him out. We're trying to get him out so we can go in. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I experienced the ups and downs in this sport. I'm 28, but I experienced a lot. I think I like 22 professional fights right now, and then like up and down, like 11th fight in the UFC and like stuff like that. So yeah, man, I'm definitely grateful for the experience, but that's the main change is just believing in my why and sticking to my why no matter what.
What's the response you're getting from all your folks back in Morocco?
Oh, bro,
Are they going crazy?
yeah, bro, they're like, oh yeah, they're fucking ranked and this and that. Like I'm the only Moroccan to ever be ranked, so there's never a single Moroccan to ever be ranked. I don't think past
That's crazy.
yeah past 100. I don't think,
Right.
but yeah. So for me, man,
You gonna go see your? Are you gonna go to Morocco
yeah,
and go see
yeah.
your mom?
I'm gonna go see my mom, but I haven't seen her in 2 years, so she's kind of like,
Get your ass back, dude.
I know I gotta go corner Cody next week, and then I'll bounce out after, you know, and because I don't want to go in just a whole.
You should just fly from Vegas
Well, I was
straight to
trying.
Morocco.
I gotta
Go see your mom and take that lady a gift and some money.
oh, come on, brother. You know, I'm African, brother. You know, I'm gonna take her some money. Calm down. Hey, and I'm gonna spoil a lot of people, man. And that's like the blessing
Good.
I really have. Like, I realize, like, you get to a point that you're like, you don't like. Sure, you are focusing on the money, right, in a way, but like, because like you obviously gotta
Yeah,
win.
we're prize fighters.
Yeah, we're prize fighters, right? But it's like, in a way, like I haven't really focused on that in the last 2 years. Like all I've been focusing on is the passion of this sport, and then showing the knowledge that I have and showing the hard work that I do and stuff like that. And the money kind of came by itself, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, in a way, it's like it's a blessing for me to go out there and just be like, hey, I can give you this. And I did it to my dad and my brother, but that was hilarious. I flew them to Canada, and I paid for their flight, their hotel, and everything. And then we have a great performance against Jack Shore. And then we were sitting at the restaurant because we came back and it was an actual hotel. And we were just eating downstairs. And my dad looks at like he's straight Africa like me. He was looking at the menu. He was like, God, ew, $30 for this thing? So he's sitting there. He's looking at me. He's like,
Is that where you got it from, being so damn cheap?
yo, bro.
You
He
got it
looked
from
at
your
me.
dad?
He looked at me. He's like, Youssef, you see this? I said, yeah. He said, well, you got it, right? I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. So we were sitting down, and then, so my dad doesn't know what the bonus is. He doesn't know what a bonus is. And I was like,
Mhm.
so we were sitting down. I ran laps. I got a text message in the group text, and all the coaches in it that we got the bonus. And then I'm like, fucking losing my shit. And then he comes in. He's like, what's the bonus? I said, yeah, you bonus when you win, when you perform, you do good, like they give you a bonus. He said, how much? I said, 50,000. He said, what? He started losing his shit. So I was like, all right, Dad.
So you definitely pay for the food.
Oh, I definitely paid for food, but I was like, I went back and I was like, here's a little 2K, kind of slide into them a little bit, have some fun a little bit. But yeah, man, it was a blessing, and it was a good moment, man, to give back to my family and to give back to my people, and I can't wait to keep doing that, and I'm gonna still keep doing that.
It's amazing. All right, man. Well, you make sure you book that flight to go see your mom. Buy me something. Bring me something cool from you got money now, so bring me something cool from Morocco.
Yeah.
Bring me something.
Listen, about
You guys always got
money difference.
you got them fancy pants and shirts on. I need something like that. Bring me something cool.
Listen. Don't talk about money, bro. You. Yeah. I'm like, how you call it? I'm like an ATM. You like a bank, brother. So calm down, brother. Don't get twisted right now. Like I'm doing pretty good, but alhamdulillah, I'm doing pretty good. But you need to chill out, brother. You need to calm down over there for a second.
Well, make sure you bring me something back from Morocco.
I
Enjoy it. I'll see you in a couple weeks when I get back to Denver.
My man, I appreciate you, bro.
Man, thanks for coming on, bro.
Yes, sir.
Anthony, if I could bottle up Youssef's energy and take it with me everywhere, I absolutely would. Is he always like that?
100% of the time. 100% of the time. That's his energy. I'm not joking. When you walk in the gym, you can tell whether he's there or not just by the volume of the gym, because he brings up everyone else's energy. So the energy is higher when Youssef is around. And he used to be, one time I tried beating the shit out of him one time. The amount of people that have tried to fight Youssef in the gym when he was younger is a lot. So many, because he just used to talk so much trash in the gym.
I was gonna, some of his qualities, like even just the third round of his fight with Calvin Kattar, like I wanted to fight him.
Yeah, it's just his personality. Like it's a defense mechanism. Like he had a tough time when he was younger, and I think he got bullied a little bit, so he was just, I don't know. He created this trash talk in the gym. Now it's fun. Now that he's gotten older, and it's fun, and we're back and forth all the time with everyone in the gym. Before it was really, really annoying. And one time I watched Chris Camozzi hold him down for 25 straight minutes until he apologized. I don't remember what he said. He said something real fucked up to Camozzi, and Camozzi grabbed him up, took him down, and held him on the ground. Like took his back, like rear naked choke position, like not choking him, but holding him there. Then went like mount, side control for 25 minutes and would not let Youssef up until he apologized. And that's his personality. He wouldn't for the entire time. Like I remember Youssef going through, you could see him work his way through this transition of his own anger. He's like, come on, dude, let me up. Come on, Chris. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying I'm sorry. Just let me up, like begging for him to let him up. And then it got to like the disrespectful part of it. Like, that's why your UFC career wasn't ever shit. You suck. Let me out of here. He got real mad. And then it went back to like the frustration and begging to be let up. Eventually he did apologize, but that was like, Youssef was the little brother, like the annoying little tiny brother that just picks and picks and picks and picks. And now it's cool to see him mature and be kind of the leader in the gym, and he's not the annoying little brother anymore.
No, now he's got a number next to his name.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
When I think of the Factory X guys, I obviously think of you, like Dustin Jacoby. Like I don't think of the 145ers. And I know there was a plethora of 135ers that had a lot of success too.
Yeah.
But I always just think of the bigger guys. And then I see Youssef like yapping around.
Yapping all the time. It'd be a group of light heavyweights and middleweights, and then Youssef will walk in. And it's always like the funniest greeting when he walks in. Like he'll just walk right up and say, "What up, bitches? Who wants fucked up first?" We're like, "Are you serious? We will break you in half." What are you? And he's dead serious. He's dead serious, but it's funny. It's a lot of fun. Listening to him and Jonathan Martinez and Chris
Mhm.
Gutierrez and like David Onama, listening to those guys go at it and tell each other how they're gonna beat the shit out of each other. So it's like a comedy show. Someone should record it. It's so fun.
I love it. Before we move on, because we do still have a lot to get to, I want to get to the main event from last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Cannonier taking on Gregory Rodrigues. Cannonier had a terrible first round that ultimately turned into a comeback win for him in the fourth. He scored a TKO. What'd you think of the fight?
I mean, I think that's, if you were to write a story about how you thought the fight could go, that would have been one of the scenarios. It's Gregory Rodrigues, absolute monster. I have a picture with him somewhere. He's way bigger than I am. He's a big middleweight with crazy power, really, really impressive grappling game that we don't get to see very much, which to me is one of the more unfortunate things. I think that some of his unwillingness to grapple comes down to his conditioning issues. He just, and I don't know, I don't want to say he has bad cardio. I would say it's a output management problem. In my opinion, is what I would probably chalk that up to. He just throws so hard. He's very tense on his feet, and all of those things will sap your gas tank pretty quickly. But when you have that type of power, a lot of times you can get away with that. The guys like Jared Cannonier, who are durable and have the ability to kind of weather that storm and push through when they are hurt and find places to be safe, where he's going to run into problems. So I think that's what happened. Gregory Rodrigues has crazy power and was able to hurt Cannonier. Cannonier's a veteran. He's been around a long time. I've been in there with some of the best guys in the world. He's going to be able to find places to hide and places to rest and places to recover and continue to push the pace and make Gregory work harder than he wants to. And that's what he did. In the second round, Gregory was a different fighter. It was, I think
He looked gassed.
He was
like right
gassed.
after the first.
And I think DC said it on the broadcast. You can't be tired in a second round of a 5-round title fight with Jared Cannonier. You just can't. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. And I know that Gregory still was able to land some big shots and was still dangerous. But from that moment on, Jared could look across and see that that's a fading fighter. And all he had to do was stay as safe as he could while continuing to push the pace. I think that's what happens when people run into this problem where you see that person start to gas. So then you start to wait. Like, okay, I'm going to wait for him to gas. You can't just wait. You still have to put yourself in danger to keep the pace high. Because if you don't and you just wait for them to gas, they're going to recover and they're going to find their second wind. You got to keep the pressure on. And that's what I think Jared Cannonier did it's a veteran move to not just say, okay, he's getting tired. I'm going to wait until he's completely gassed and then I'll push the pace. You have to continue to push the pace to speed up that process. It was a vet move. It was, he just out veteraned Gregory Rodrigues.
Well, because I also feel like fatigued or not, anybody from 170 up, especially these ranked guys, are still going to have one punch power.
Mhm.
So Gregory Rodrigues, despite the cardio not looking great after the first, can still be a dangerous fighter. So I think Jared Cannonier played
Sometimes
it.
they're more dangerous because then they're not as thoughtful in their shot placement. They just want to land the big one, and they're willing to throw back in scenarios where they typically wouldn't be, where you would normally cover, try to circle out, get back to the center, and then throw. Sometimes you'll be with your back stuck against. How many times have we seen Gregory Rodrigues look like he was down and out with his back square to the fence and then throw a bomb and put someone out? It's
Right.
We've seen that before. Sometimes people are more dangerous when they're hurt and tired, and he's one of those guys. So my hats are off to Jared Cannonier for continuing to push, even though he'd already been dropped and hurt really, really bad.
Mhm.
He just stuck to the game plan and put it out of his head. I've always had a lot of respect for Jared Cannonier. I think that he doesn't get enough love for the difficulty that his career has been. Multiple weight classes. He fights anybody. He's in
Mhm.
every single fight that he's ever been in. The level of athlete that he is in his 40s is crazy, crazy impressive. I've interviewed him a couple times and had some long conversations with him. He's really thoughtful. Just a really deep thinker.
Oh yeah.
Really loves his family. Just I don't know, just
Isn't
a
he into the
really
whole crystals thing too and that
yeah.
kind of stuff? I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah, he's super spiritual. You
Mhm.
know, he reminds me a lot of Rashad in that aspect.
Yes.
Really
Great
spiritual.
comparison.
Yeah. So and he's just a really respectable guy. You've never really heard him say anything bad about anybody. He's one of the good guys in the sport for sure.
Well, the question is now
And sorry, on the flip side of that,
for
so
sure.
is Gregory Rodrigues.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about that
no, as
guy.
dangerous as both of those guys are, like if you take the danger factor combined inside that octagon, you also couldn't find two nicer guys and two better humans that you'd want to spend some time around. They're both really, really good guys.
Absolutely. And the question is now with the win, where does Jared Cannonier go? He's currently ranked 7th in the division, but he finds himself in a weird spot that you usually don't find yourself in after a win, because he's in a really good spot in that division, but he's got losses to a handful of the guys ahead of him. So, what do you think would be a good matchup for him next if he wants to continue to work his way back up? Because he did say specifically he doesn't want to be accepting of that gatekeeper role.
I think you run him back with Strickland. There was already a little bit of a controversial decision win there.
Mhm.
Amazing fight. I was there. It was a really, really good fight. I think a lot of people believe that Strickland won that fight. Either way, whether you think he did or didn't, it was really competitive. And now both these guys find themselves in a really weird, funky position until the rest of the division kind of shakes itself out and we see what's going to happen with the title. And you have Kaio and you have Hamzat and you have all these guys kind of shaking around. Imavov is up there too, and who also has a win over Cannonier. Those guys have to kind of shake that out a little bit and get some movement. If I'm the matchmaker, I probably run him back with Strickland, and you can main event that anywhere, any fight night, and anywhere on the planet, and it's gonna sell. It's a good fight, so that's where I would go. But he is in a weird spot right now.
All right, are you ready to move on from the fight talk and get into a little bit of fun, some personal
Yeah, let's
questions?
go.
All
Let's
right,
go.
so here and there we'll do an Ask Anthony. I asked everybody on Instagram and on our Twitter to send in questions for Anthony. We got hundreds. So
Hundreds.
thanks to hundreds. My Google Doc of questions is a couple of pages. So
Nice.
thanks to everybody for that. We'll get to a couple today, but I did make it a point to write down every single question that we receive. So next time we do this, we have plenty. So if we don't get to it today, we certainly will get to it at some point in the future. So let's go
This
completely
is
off
fun.
of fighting.
This is
I
fun.
know.
Let's go.
I know. I had fun
Hundreds.
reading
That's
these.
crazy.
I know. So come April 27th, you're going to have some more free time on your hands. One of the questions is, you've got this thing for scuba diving. Would you ditch the tank and learn to free dive and spearfish?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. Okay, so free diving really scares me because you're the I don't I, the length that those people hold their breath, like the
Mhm.
amount of time is so crazy. They're just able to hold their breath for so long, and I can't. So and I know that there's exercises and there's ways to extend that time. So I would absolutely be interested in that. It's in one of those scary things that would attract me for sure. Spearfishing would be awesome. When I was in Puerto Rico diving, my the dive master that just stayed with me the whole time, it was just him and I the whole time. He was telling me about, in their kind of their slow season for like boat rentals and diving and all that stuff. They do a lot of spearfishing, and they're diving down and getting shells and uh, getting lobsters and just all sorts of stuff. But he was telling me about all the spearfishing that they do, and it sounded like an absolute blast. So yeah, I would love to do that.
I figured you would like that question
Yeah, it's a
because
good one.
that's honestly how we kicked off the show. You're come to Jesus moment in episode 1
Yeah, was diving.
about realizing you wanted to fight again.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this question because it's kind of full circle with what you were saying about Adley this morning at her wrestling competition.
Mhm.
At what age do you think kids can start jujitsu and form their own opinion of the sport?
At what age can you start? What age can you start kids in jujitsu?
Yeah, it's so that they can form their own opinions of the sport. Because parents probably, I would assume, put their kids in sports just
Right.
because they want to
Yeah.
until they ultimately realize whether they want to do it or not.
There's kids like at Factory X. Mark Montoya's daughter teaches the kids program, and she teaches kids jujitsu. And they're like 4, and sometimes we'll sit back and we'll watch the kids classes because they are hilarious. It's one of the funnest part. Back in the day, I'm going to go off topic just a little bit. Back in the day at Factory X, we had our team practices were at night. Now they're during the day from 10 to noon. But like 2016, 2017, maybe it changed in 2018, but it used to be at nighttime. So it was from 5:30 to 7, or it's like 5:30 to 7 in the evening time. And then after that there was 2 open classes. On Thursdays, one of the open classes was sparring. So they were teaching regular kickboxing open students how to spar. And then as that goes on, obviously they get better at it, right? So the team on Thursdays would practice, and then we'd all go shower really quick. And then we'd come back and we'd sit around with dollar bills, and we would bet on the Thursday night fights because it was
No way.
it was just, it's
That's
regular
hilarious.
people like that don't fight or do this for a living. It's just their hobby. They're learning to spar. And so
That's so funny.
it's a bunch of debauchery. It was so much fun. And we would just be like, no. I got the lawyer guy. That guy's mine. That guy could fight. That guy could do it. So, the whole thing, we're talking, $5 or $10 a week just playing around. But the kids program is our new thing, because now it's just we sit back and just watch these 4 and 5-year-olds just roll around
cute.
like 2 cats in a bag. It's the funnest thing in the world. So my answer would be probably 5. I would be the general age. I think 4 sometimes can be a little young. It depends on the kid. But yeah, if you have a good program, you find a good teacher, a good good curriculum, they can still teach them stuff while also keeping it fun at the same time. Also little kids in gis, it's like the cutest thing in the world.
So cute.
They got their little gis with their little belts, and then they just roll around like crazy people, and they learn a few things here and there. But yeah, I would say 5, and they'll figure out if they like it or not. Some kids don't like the intimate nature of jujitsu. There's a lot of physicality to it, and sometimes you got a kid grabbing another kid and throwing them on the ground. Some kids don't like that, so you'll figure out pretty fast. If you give it a couple weeks and they still hate it, I think they form their opinion.
Fair enough. All right, next up, BJJ white belt entering my first competition. Any advice on handling nerves?
Yeah, don't handle them. Just let them.
Do they ever go away? Do you still get nervous?
Never. Yeah. The nerves are different. I perceive them differently now, but that's a very conscious thing. When I start to feel nervous, I just accept that it's there, and it turns into a little bit anxious and excited, and there's a lot of uncertainty there, but there is no going away completely for the nerves. You can manage it differently and perceive it differently, but there's no I think when we think about nerves, we think about that like it's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with being nervous. Having nerves is a natural feeling. If you don't completely, then there's something wrong with you. So I don't know why we always say, oh my God, I'm nervous, I don't know what to do. You're supposed to be nervous. You're doing something that's unnatural.
I think baseline, like 20% nervous at all times of the day.
Like it's a natural thing that's supposed to happen. I think the more you fight it, the worse it gets. So anytime I've tried to push it off and say, oh, you're not nervous, don't worry about it, you don't give a fuck, you got this shit, it elevates it and it gets worse, and it just
because
spirals.
then you're like so consciously trying to push it off that it occupies like your whole brain.
Yeah, I just accept it now and say, okay, You're nervous, and that's okay. It doesn't change what you're about to do. It doesn't change the fact that you have to do it. You accept it, you live with it, and say, okay, I'm a little bit nervous, and that's okay. I'm still going to go in there, and I'm going to execute to the best of my ability. But the nerves, it only can affect you if you fight it. If you just accept that it's there, kind of feel it in your belly a little bit and say, stomach feels kind of weird. That's okay. Because he probably feels the same way. That part of it helped me a lot, knowing that no matter what their face looks like or how confident they are or how they're joking around with their buddies right before, like your brain will say, he doesn't even give a fuck. He's not nervous at all. He's about to smoke me. That's his defense mechanism. That's how he's hiding it for him. He feels the exact same way. No matter who it is, he feels this. Even when I go and do jiu-jitsu, like in competitions, whether it's in the gi or no gi, I'm still nervous. There's still that weird feeling that sits in your stomach. That's why I continue to keep doing this, because I'm addicted to that. So yeah, you don't have to deal with it at all. Accept it, take it with you, and still do what you're about to do.
All right. And let's do 2 more. With your career coming to a close, what are your 3 most satisfactory wins?
Alexander Gustafsson.
That's my favorite fight of yours.
Yeah, Alexander Gustafsson. Probably the second Ryan Spann fight and Brian Green. Brian Green is a guy that I fought in Bellator in 2013, maybe 2014 or 15, 2014. Yeah, those would be the 3 most satisfying.
Any reason in particular?
Brian Green was the first time I went to a decision, and for the longest time I was unsure what that would be like because I'd never done it, and I'd gone like 30 fights or something without ever going to a decision. And it was a really hard fight, and it was just tough. And it was the very first time I had ever really had to like die. I was gassed too. I don't know why. I had eaten like a shit ton of Arby's right before the fight.
You remember what you ate?
Yeah,
11 years ago?
Yeah,
It was October 2014.
Yeah, I had eaten a shit ton of Arby's before the fight. I mean, whereas it's like a regional scene bullshit show, right? Like it's Bellator, but it wasn't Bellator what it ended up being.
Sure.
It was early days of Bellator. And, like I didn't have the money to like eat super healthy, and like I was broke. And so I had Arby's, like drive-through Arby's right before. And I remember during the whole fight trying not to throw it up the whole time. I was so like I was gassing because I was tired. I sprinted the whole time. Excuse me.
I'm sure Arby's doesn't help.
Yeah, I was gassed. And Brian fought Kimbo Slice actually. He's fought a lot of yeah. He beat Kimbo in a boxing match for like 9.5 rounds, and then Kimbo knocked him out in the last half of the last round. But anyways, it was just a really hard fight. It was the first really, really, really hard fight I had to really kind of battle through some adversity and win a decision.
All right, and last one here. Bonus point if you guess who it's from.
Okay.
Pretty simple. It's a yes or no question.
Okay.
Who won Super Bowl 59?
That's got to be from Danny Molina. That has to be.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is.
I'm not even answering his
Do you remember?
question. No, I don't.
It's part of the game.
No.
You do.
No, I don't. Who won it?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm not playing this game with him. I'm not. We're editing this whole part out of it. I'm not answering this dumbass question.
I actually messaged him after he sent it in, and I was like, your response just sent me into another planet.
Yeah, so for those listening, Danny Molina is my boxing coach, huge Eagles fan, and now out of a job. He's fired. I'm sick of his shit.
Poor Danny.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
At least he had a great weekend.
You got one more?
I'm
not ending on Danny's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, we have plenty.
Let's do one more.
Let's see. All right. We'll do a non-fighting one because we have a little more fighting stuff to get to after this.
Yeah.
If you could be in any TV or movie world, which would it be and why?
Oh, Yellowstone for sure.
That's a great answer.
Yeah,
And I could
Yellowstone
actually
for
see
sure.
you in it.
Yeah, Yellowstone for sure. Well, I grew up in a small town, grew up on a farm, you know. Um and that would be a really comfortable living for me. I would thrive in that atmosphere. I really would.
Yes, you would.
Plus being able to take people to the train station whenever you don't like them would be dope.
It's a great answer. Very on brand for you.
Yeah. That would be great.
All right. Like I said, I have all these questions written down. Just because we didn't get to it today doesn't mean that we won't in the future, and we'll certainly ask for more.
Hey, am I the
forward.
only one that watches a series or gets like into a show and then starts to like believe that you could be that person?
No, I do it all the time.
Like when I was watching Sons of Anarchy, I was like, yeah, of course, I'm going to be a biker. That's what's going to happen. I'm changing everything, and I'm going to join a club.
That
Like,
show
I'm
was
sure of
ruined
it.
for me because I was going to watch it, and then I came downstairs one day. This is whenever the actual finale was on,
Hmm.
and my parents were watching the finale, and I watched. I don't want to give it away. It is
Yeah,
like very old, but still, those who have seen the finale, I was
right.
spoiled before I got to watch the show. So I was like, you know what? I'm all set.
So it ruined it.
I'm not going to waste my time now when I know what happens to the main character.
Yeah, I gotta be careful watching it because I get into it, and I guess I'll just start to believe that that's who I am as a person. I have no idea why I do that.
You know what I do with the show? If I really like it, I don't want it to end. So right when I get to the finale, the series finale, I won't watch it and I'll start the show over just to give myself more
Really?
time so that I've never actually finished it. Hmm.
That's weird.
I know. I have trouble letting go of things.
That's weird.
All right, Ant, before we go, we have some fights this weekend, and actually, more exciting, we're going to start this new segment in collaboration with the entire Home of Fight team called Split Decision. So, pretty much the concept is the fighters across the platform, you, Gilbert Burns, Hanato Moicano,
I love those guys.
yeah, they're amazing,
Yeah.
are going to make picks for the upcoming week of fights. I think it's going to be 5 fights determined by the Home of Fight team. And then some more casual fans, some handicappers are also going to make picks. So it'll be the fighters versus the casuals.
We're probably going to
And
lose too. I bet the casuals do better.
I think I would like that though.
I
Like,
th-
I
I
think
mean, I'm
most
going to give
people
it
would
my best
expect you
shot.
guys to win. So each week, all of the picks across the board will be tallied up. If the fighters have more wins, they'll get the point for the week. If the casuals have more wins, which I'm team casual, they will get the point for the week. And then we'll go from there. So we're going to start it off this week with the fights we got going on this weekend.
All right, guys. Here's my rapid fire for the main card. We have starting off the main card, we got Alonzo Menafield and Julius Walker. I think Julius Walker was a heavyweight. I think he's coming down. I think he's undefeated. I like Alonzo Menafield though. He's been around a long time. I think he's the more veteran guy at this level. So I'm gonna go Alonzo Menafield. Rob Font versus Gene Matsumoto. I believe there was some fight switches going around here, and I think
Yep.
Rob Font lost an opponent. It's hard to pick against Rob Font versus anybody, and I'm not going to start today, so I'm going Rob Font. John Silva versus Melsik Bagdasaryan. That one's quick. I'm just going to go Silva. Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. That's a really interesting fight. Brendan Allen is trying to make his way back to where he was before. He's got an amazing grappling game, amazing wrestling game. And I'm going to go Brendan Allen. Henry Cejudo, Song Yadong. That's a really, really exciting fight. It's really interesting. I really like what I've seen from Song Yadong recently. His takedown defense has looked really good, and I think that he's probably going to have the edge in the striking. So I'm going to go Song Yadong. So for premium picks and analysis, our squad at Homa Picks are up 12 units in 2025 and above 200 units since 2023. That means $100 bettors are up over $21,000. So you can get your picks for free for 7 days using code Lionheart.
All right, Ann. I think that's all we got for today. We covered a lot of ground.
That's a big one today. It's a big one.
I asked
We got
Anthony,
Youssef on.
Youssef.
Right. I had a long weekend. Now we got a snow day. And then I got the rest of the day. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I know what I'm going to do, and that's get this episode up for everybody else.
Well, you don't do that because then makes it look like I don't do anything.
What?
What she meant was now I have to get off here and I have to go edit this entire thing, add all the graphics.
On top of be a dad.
Yeah, I have to go do all, and Kelly just gets to leave and do nothing. So
that's how it goes around here. All right, and that is all for this week. We will talk to you next week.
We partner with HomoFight Picks to get you the most accurate and well-researched fight predictions. They do all the legwork so you can focus on winning. Picks will be sent directly to your phone via text or email. It's totally up to you. The second we upload them. Use code Lionheart to get 7 free days at winnable.com/HOF picks. That's WINIBLE.com/HOF picks.
with Anthony Smith.